Hi, guys. Sorry if that was a little loud. I'm just super enthusiastic because this is my very first podcast ever. So, welcome to it. And actually, to tell you the truth, this is not my first time recording this. Earlier today, I recorded over 30 minutes of this podcast content and I went back to review and there was no sound, even though I had done a proper sound check before. I don't know what happened. So this is take two. Let's try it again from the top, okay? All right. So, in keeping with a new start, since this podcast is a brand new project for me, I thought I would talk about starting projects, maybe sharing some inspiration, encouragement for you guys, because getting this podcast started for me was very challenging. I thought about the idea months ago, and I have a YouTube channel. I've been a motivational speaker for a long time, and everyone, I cannot tell you. I mean, I can't count how many people have said, start a podcast. You should start a podcast. How come you don't start a podcast? I'm doing it. I'm starting a podcast. Um, but the reason why I was delayed in getting this started, not that you guys really care, because it's not like you were waiting on pins and needles for this, but just in keeping with the topic, um, like most of you, I have been exhausted. Um, when 2020 hit, it shifted everything. And I don't know about you, but I went through some heavy things in 2020. I won't get into that, but I mean, do I really need to fill in the lines? Um, didn't we all go through a lot of heavy things in 2020? The whole world did. And really, I mean, that's the thing is that we all went through a global trauma. So I guess what I'm saying is we're in this together because we all collectively went through a trauma together all around the world with the pandemic. And, you know, I don't know about you, but after all of that, I have felt like my brain just works a lot slower. I went through a lot of emotional things in 2020. I I don't know about you, but for me, that was a year where a lot of things came into focus in my life. I would say the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think prior to that, I was really good at not looking at the ugly, not acknowledging the ugly, maybe looking at the good and the bad, but leaving the ugly shoved down somewhere, leaving the ugly on the sidelines, covering up the ugly with uh, being busy and, you know, whatever distraction of the day I use to cover it up. Uh, and I know that you can relate to this because we were all doing that. So, prior to the pandemic, I was an incredibly active public speaker and entrepreneur. I was a world traveler, a jet setter. I ran a nonprofit and a for profit, which I still do, just in a different way. But I was a go getter, A type. In fact, to my detriment, I burnt out several times and I can tell you every time I burnt out because they were all life or death moments in my life. And um, this last time that I burnt out, it was in 2019. And I came out of surgery and I was fighting for my life. And a lot of it I knew was just because I did not stop when my body said stop. And I just kept pushing and going for gold, uh, trying to prove myself, be the best entrepreneur there ever was, and it burnt me out, burnt me all out. And so this last time I came out of surgery, I was like, I am determined to never end up here again. If it has anything to do with me, I want to find balance in my life. I want to do well and be successful, but not to the detriment of my health and well-being. And so 2020 actually really afforded me a year where I kind of took the year off from work. And I spent the year just working internally. And that was hard. And I'm sure that you guys can relate to the same thing. We all kind of had to do this. And I've never cried so much. I still kind of cry every day, to tell you the truth. Haven't cried yet today, though, so I'm kind of proud of myself. And, you know, since then, too, I feel like I'm kind of slower. Maybe not mentally, but yeah, mentally. Like, I just feel like I don't rush right into starting something. And I also feel like even just getting something going, it's slower. It's a slower process because I used to just do it, like I didn't think about a lot. I just planned it, did it, got on the plane, went there, did that. And if I was tired, I pushed through. And if I was not doing well, I showed up anyway. And now, if I go to get something started and I don't feel well and something's holding me back and kind of slowing me down emotionally, I'm going to be like, you know what? Let's check in there first. Let's look at the check engine light when it comes on and explore. Okay, what's the resistance here? All that to say, that's why I delayed on getting this podcast started. So, are you guys struggling with the same thing? Getting things started? Maybe you have a passion project that you've been thinking about. This is actually a great time to do it. Like, the job market has greatly changed, and I'm not going to go into that because I'm not an economist. But what I can say is right now is the time, whatever ideas you are sitting on, start them. So here's a few little tidbits of information for you guys. First of all, I do a lot of mentoring, and I have mentored people from all walks of life in their careers. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I see this in myself too, is that we can think we have all the parts together to get started, but we really don't. And the way I like to think about it is whatever you're starting, whether it's a project, a business, a family, I mean, it's a relationship, like you name it. It's almost like if you think of it like a bowl, a bowl holds something, a bowl can be poured into. And in order for the bowl to be poured into, it has to be whole. It has to have a structure. And so getting something started really requires that you have a foundation built. You have a structure for that entity to be poured into. And so a lot of us want to claim that we have started something and that it's ready, but have you checked all the boxes for what is needed for that to get started? So if whatever it is that you are wanting to start, get out a pen and a notebook or your iPad or whatever it is you like to write things down on, and make a checklist of everything that is required, just kind of logistically, for you to get that thing done. And then be a self-starter. I mean, that's the thing about being an entrepreneur or whatever it is you want to do on your own. No one is there telling you to do it. You don't have a boss giving you a checklist or an assignment. It's you. You are the boss. You're the boss of your life. Even if you do work for someone, you're still the boss of your life, and you can decide whether you're going to start something or not. And it's really up to you to decide how you start it, when you start it, how well you're going to do with it, how much you're going to put into it, how much you're going to invest in that. that is all on you. And if you go to get started and you don't have all the things in order, it's not going to go well. So I guess what I'm saying is that it requires discipline. To get something started and to have some success with it, it requires discipline. Um, and, you know, a lot of times when I have worked with people, and I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I've never done this, but I think a lot of times, um, you know, I'll I'll go to have a session with someone, and I'll ask them a few questions. You know, they'll tell me what they want to accomplish, and I'll ask them a few questions, and they don't have their ducks in a row. You know, they don't have the things in place, and then what happens is I'll let them know, hey, you need to do A, B, and C in order to move forward. And I'm going to check in with you in a week and see how you're doing with that. And so I'll give them that, you know, assignment, and I'll check in with them, and they'll be like, I didn't get it done. And then they'll say, would you help me? Can you do it for me? I don't know how. And it's kind of like, you kind of got to give some tough love, and you got to do this for yourself too. Give yourself some tough love. The truth is that you're the only person that can get that done. And if you're waiting for someone else to come and do it for you, you're going to be waiting a long, long time. And so I think that that's the most important thing about being a self-starter is you do the research, you get it done, you do the thing, you know, you just do the thing because it's something that's important to you. For example, 10 years ago when I started my business, uh, I found a free class through the municipal city that I was living in at the time. And I went and took a free business course that talked about just everything that has to do with starting a business with the city. And so I learned about finance. I learned about um, the difference between a sole proprietorship and an LLC, and just all those basic things about starting a business as an entrepreneur. And that's one of the smartest things I've ever done. And it cost me no money, my time, but it cost me no money. Another move that I made at that time is I started working part time for an ad agency. And I was working in advertising, and I was utilizing the income that was coming in to start my business. So I was utilizing that income to build a website, to hire a consultant to help me get started. And so I had, you know, a day job that was fueling my future dream. So even if you're working in an office right now and you're not happy, or you're in a job that you're not super happy about, or you're sitting at home, you know, this is for my extra abled peeps, like, uh, not to step on any toes, but you know, maybe you're feeling restless and you want to be getting more out of life instead of just living day to day. And maybe you're watching too much Netflix, or getting, you know, caught up in binge watching things, and hours and days go by. And I think just having something that you're doing in your life that brings in an income, that utilizes a hobby or a talent that can also, you know, make you some money and give you some success, like, invest in it, get it going, you know. But it's really important to do the research up ahead and know what it is that you need to have in place to get started. Next order of business, now you've done the research and you have things in place. Now, I think the word is sustainability. And this is something that I took way too long to learn. So please don't make the same mistakes I did and get yourself um, burnt out, and then, you know, have to be dealing with the burnout, which sets you back. So the way I look at sustainability now is, first of all, I don't need to do all of it all at once right now. Um, I think sustainability is about looking at your energy levels. What do you logistically have the time for? And that might be only 2 hours a week. But honestly, if you do something 2 hours a week with passion and gusto, you can still get a lot done and it can still be very fruitful. So look at your time, look at your lifestyle, and ask yourself, how much time do you really have? And don't push past that. Um, I think another really important part of sustainability is taking care of yourself. So for me, that the number one thing is sleep. I'm sure anybody watching this who actually knows me is gonna like chuckle because I'm one of those people. I do not do well if I'm sleep deprived. Like, if I'm sleep deprived, just run for the hills because I I get weepy. I I'm not productive when I'm sleep deprived. I get really, really emotional and really triggered easily, and it's rough. Now, that's something for me to work on, obviously, in my own life. But all that to say, self care. So I prioritize sleep. I have a sleep routine um, that I make sure I stick to. Another thing is nutrition. Everybody has different nutritional needs. So, what are your nutritional needs? Are you feeding yourself well? 3 meals a day with snacks in between, or whatever it is you do, intermittent fasting. I mean, we all have our thing, but the important thing is, are you taking care of yourself nutritionally? Another really important thing to look at is, uh, are you taking care of your mental health? And that, I mean, these necessary aren't necessarily in order. These are all top priorities if to sustain success in your life. And I really think one of the most important things about showing up and being successful in life is being a sober adult. And a lot of people define sobriety in different ways, but the way I look at it is that you are doing your best to refrain from addiction in your life. And addiction can look like a lot of different things. Addiction isn't necessarily always drugs and alcohol. If it is drugs and alcohol, though, get help. Drugs and alcohol, any kind of substance abuse it really is so destructive in your life. I've seen it with my own eyes, with people close to me. And, it's actually biologically kind of programmed into me too. Not to get into that too deep, but I know for myself, I have to, stay away from any addictive substances because I have the genetics for addiction. And addiction really is just anything that we're doing in excess to numb our pain. So if you find yourself just whatever it is that you're doing in excess, maybe just give it a little check. Uh, Also, I think another aspect of sobriety is what you watch. Um, I have noticed that, and I'm not trying to get all high and mighty and judgy here, but I have noticed that the entertainment industry has changed so much. I mean, I would even say since the pandemic. And if you scroll through any, platform for watching movies or TV shows, there's just um, so many entertainment venues that are or mediums, I should say, that are just dark. Everything is kind of scary and psycho thriller, and you know um, aliens taking over the planet or someone trying to murder you. I mean, it's very dark, and I think it's really important to be careful about what you're watching. Um, Also, illicit or explicit material that gets your brain in a very unhealthy place. And I'm not going to say anything more about that, but if you're struggling with those things, uh, there is help out there, so reach out, get some accountability, get some sobriety in those areas, and work on that because I really do think that if you can live sober, you can do anything. I mean, it really, really strengthens your life in so many ways. And for me, I mean, I'm a spiritual person, I'm a Christian. Staying sober is about staying connected to God, staying connected to the Holy Spirit. And, because addiction oftentimes is just something that we're going to because we feel powerless. And so if you're connected to a higher power and that source in your life that is fueling your spirit, your soul, your mind, uh, that is a great place to start, and I would say the only place to start um, for really laying the foundation for sobriety in your life. Another important aspect in the vein of sustainability, I believe, is getting out in nature. Being in nature is so grounding and so healthy for our psyche, our whole being. And so, daily I make sure I get outside in some way, go for a walk, go to the waterfront, go to the park, or even just sitting out on the deck, and getting some fresh air. It's just so important to make sure that we're not just spending most of our time in an office or in a house, but get out there and, touch the earth and smell the air. It also, I think, is really important to be out in nature to remind us that we are the tenants of this earth and we need to take care of it. And it's in desperate need of care. I'm not going to go into that too much more in this podcast, but you see what I'm saying. Um, and lastly, I think a huge part of sustainability is having fun. Oh, that can be hard sometimes, especially in this new reality that we're living in, where we are like 90% stressed, if not more. But still, make sure you're doing things that are fun, whatever the fun is for you. For me, fun is going out on a Friday night with friends. I love being social. It's dancing. I have my own dance parties in my living room. A party for one, thank you. And being out in nature is another thing I do for fun. I skateboard, I paint, I sing, I write songs. I mean, just whatever it is that you really don't even have to think, and it brings joy to your life. Make sure you're doing it regularly. That you're doing that thing that's fun regularly. So, lastly, did I just say lastly? Well, I'm going to say lastly again. But really, lastly, I think a huge part of sustainability is finding calm in your life. And in fact, when I started this podcast, one of my intentions for it is I am hoping that it brings calm into your life. I'm hoping that my sultry voice is relaxing for you as you listen, whatever you're doing. I actually listen to podcasts as I'm going to sleep. Um, Certain voice tones really are relaxing, and I'm hoping that that's what this podcast can do for you. Can infuse some calm into your life. Um, but I think a huge part of finding calm is breathing, checking in with yourself throughout the day. If you're feeling a little off, just taking some time to breathe. Um, Yoga and meditation are huge for me in remaining calm. And also magnesium. A magnesium supplement has helped me a lot. Um, Journaling is really good for calming your mind and your thoughts. And something I've been doing that's kind of my own little quirk, kind of funny, I think. I don't know about you, but finding people to talk to about whatever's stressing me out has been harder lately because, first of all, everyone is stressed out. And so I've been just recording myself talking, which actually was kind of one of the inspirations for my podcast. But if I'm stressed out, I'll just get my phone out and hit the record button and just talk it out and then play it back and be like, you know what? You have a point there. And it's almost just a way to verbally process um, when someone to talk to in that maybe that moment of crisis is not readily available. So maybe that will help you out. Maybe try that next time you're stressed out. Record yourself talking about what you're stressed about and then listen to it back and then empathize with yourself. And listen to it and say, you're right there, but maybe you need to think about this a little more or whatever it is. Okay, so another self starter can actually be this is a funny segue, but I want to talk about jealousy. So, um, I don't mean to be like tooting my own horn here, but I have dealt with people being jealous of me. Um, and I mean, I would say I used to be a lot more of a jealous person. I, I'm not as much now. I mean, once in a while I might find myself, being like, I'm kind of jealous of them. But I also know that jealousy is pretty toxic. So I try to catch that. But really, the truth is if you catch it in time and you don't let it become something that festers, it can actually be a little indication to you of something that you want in life. If you see some greener grass on the other side of the fence in someone else's life and you want some of that green grass, you know what? Tune into that. What do they have that you wish you had? You know, excuse me, a little burp there. Um, it actually was something that got me started with my business. I remember um, watching all these adventurous type people. And, when I was growing up, I'm disabled or extra abled, as I like to call it. And when I was growing up, there were a lot of things I had to sit out in life. And there were a lot of things that the world just kind of told me, you'll never be able to do that. Things like skiing, world travel, um, water sports. I mean, there were just a lot of things that I always felt like that's just not something I can do. And I remember, meeting people that were like surfers or world travelers. Um, and I would just be like, I wish I could do that. And I would be jealous, I'd be a little jealous, a little green in the face. And that actually was what helped me kind of tune in to like, you know what, that's something I want for myself. And if I want that for myself, then I'm going to go for it. And I'll talk about the ways I did that in another podcast. But, you know, um, I think when I saw something in someone else's life that I wanted, I use that as a way to self start. And so think about that next time you're jealous or if you're currently jealous about something. What is that? What's in it that you want for you? Um, and then do that. That's tapping into something that you're desiring. And I think it's really, really important to be tuned into our personal desires and to do our best to fulfill them because I think that makes us well rounded, fulfilled people. So I think what I will end this podcast talking about is work ethic. Oh, isn't that such a fun topic? I mean, I'm hoping that this podcast is not only entertaining but also helpful and informative. And I think that with anything that we want in life, it comes with work. It does not matter what it is. I mean, you want better mental health, it's going to take work. You want better family life, it's going to take work. You want a better career, it's going to take work. Um, but like I said before about sustainability, work ethic does not mean being a workaholic. There is a big difference. Tune into that. Listen here. Listen up. Hear ye, hear ye. people of the court. You don't have to be a workaholic to have work ethic. I believe, and this is the motto I live by, that work ethic is just showing up for what you love, showing up for what you want to be successful in, and doing it regularly, daily, except when you're taking a break, um, and diligently, being diligent. Because we really do reap what we sow. And so, kind of backtracking a little bit back to the jealousy, a lot of times our grass isn't green because we're not planting seeds. And I think that that's a huge aspect of work ethic is what seeds are you planting to make the grass green on your side of the fence? And if you think about grass, I mean, it needs water, it needs dirt, it needs fertilizer. If a disease gets in there, you got to treat it. Um, and it needs some basic upkeep. And so it's the same thing in your life. Whatever seeds you're planting, that's what's going to grow. So if you're growing brown weeds that you don't like in your life, then think of some new seeds, something new that you are excited about, that maybe you're a little jealous for, um, and start planting those seeds in your life, and then water them and nurture them and show up for them in every way that you can. Um, and but I do think that doing that sustainably means that you show up for what you love, but you also take care of yourself, and you take care of your life and your livelihood, um, and you try your best to maintain balance in all of it. And that's a slippery slope, and that's challenging because believe me, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, burnout is something that I have struggled with. Um, but like I shared, I think that we can be self starters. I think that we can add more because I think starting something means you're always adding more. I mean, right now, this podcast is adding more to my life, to my time, um, to my week, but it's worth it because I love talking and I hope you love listening to me talk. So that's all I have to share for today. I am really glad that the video actually recorded this time. The audio worked. And if you're listening to this on audio, um, we did it. We're here. We're at the end of the podcast. Yay. You listened to the whole thing. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And so thank you for listening, and I will catch you guys